Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you that how you can use different settings with Lazy Vertical Grid, which is introduced in SwiftUI for iOS 14. We'll be looking at the fixed columns, we'll be looking at the flexible columns, and we will be looking at adaptive columns. So let's go ahead and get started. In order to create a grid, you first need to specify the structure of the grid items, meaning the structure of the cell of a grid. So I'm going to go ahead and first define a structure, and I'm just going to say grid item, and you can see that I have multiple options over here. I can use fixed, I can use flexible, and I can use adaptive. Let's go with fixed first because it's much easier to understand. A fixed column is the column where you do have to specify a particular size. This means it's going to be 100 points. And it's going to be 100 points for the area of that particular grid item. So if I go ahead and display these grid items, so let's go ahead and display it. I'm going to go ahead and over here say LazyVGrid. And all the things that we are going to be learning, you can do the same exact thing with a lazy horizontal grid also. So I'm going to go ahead and say columns, and I'm going to simply pass in the columns, which is declared right here. And now I have to specify the actual look and feel of a grid item. So I'm just going to use a rectangle. So rectangle is fine. And the rectangle, we'll fill it up with some sort of a color. Let's go ahead and use red color. If I simply save it and run the application on an iPhone, you will be able to see that one particular grid item is actually created, which is right there. Now, if I want this item to have a particular height, I can go ahead and set the frame, or I can simply say the aspect ratio, and I can say go ahead and fit it. And now I have one particular grid item. And the reason I have one grid item is that because I'm entering one item as a rectangle. And I only have one column also. So if I go ahead and add another rectangle, there we go, and save it, then you will see that I still have one single column because I have declared a column right over here, and I'm only declaring one column. That's why it ends up being just kind of like a list, one column. So if I go ahead and add some multiple rectangles, you'll see that they're just going to add in one particular column. They're all also 100 in size, so the area of that particular rectangle is 100, or the actual width and height is 100. Now I can go ahead and say 200, and you'll see that now the grid item will become a little bit more bigger, so it will be 200. There we go. But it's still one particular column. So if you want to add more columns, you need to specify this in the columns as a grid item. So I can go ahead and add another column. So now it should update, and it should at least create two columns. Both columns will be of the size 100. And now you can see we have two columns. If you need to create three columns, then well, simply copy it again, and we will end up with more columns. So now we will have three columns. Each column is of size 100. Now obviously I can go ahead and add more columns over here just by copy pasting the code, but maybe it will be a good idea to run a loop and create these columns instead of doing it manually and pasting it again and again. So let's go ahead and run a particular loop. I'm going to go ahead and run a for each loop. It's going to run till 1 till 20, which 20 is not included. And inside this body, we're just going to ignore the index because the index is not really going to do anything. And we're going to just put this particular rectangle inside our for each. Now the for each over here is the one that is returning you a view, and this is a particular view that is being returned. And by placing it inside a for each, now we are creating multiple elements, but we are still being restricted by three columns. One thing you will note over here on the top is that it's going kind of like on the top, and it's kind of going away. So it will be a good idea to wrap this in a navigation view. The other thing you will notice is that if I run the application, I can't really scroll. So scrolling is not there. And the reason is that by default, the LazyVGrid does not really come with a scroll view. But that we can easily accomplish because we can simply go ahead and wrap our LazyVGrid, lazy vertical grid inside a scroll view. And let's go ahead and style a little bit better. There we go. And save it. And now just by putting it inside a scroll view, we get a little bit of a margin on the top. And not only that, but we can also scroll this particular grid. You can see. If you need more columns, you know how to do that, right? You can simply go ahead and copy this and you can add more columns. There we go. So now it will end up with 4 columns, each of size 100. You can see that once you add columns, it starts cutting off. That's because there's no way to fit 4 columns in the top row. So maybe you will end up with 3 columns or so. You can even play around with different sizes. Maybe you want the middle column to be a little bit more size. So you can say that the middle column will be the 200. So it's going to come like this. So you can see you have many different variations for using the fixed item. So fixed item, easy to remember because fixed item just has a fixed particular size, like the one that we have showed. Now sometimes you want the fixed size, but sometimes you want a little bit more flexible size. So let's go ahead and see what exactly is flexible columns or flexible grid items and how they are different from fixed items. If you like this video and want to support my channel, then the best way would be to check out my courses on Udemy. I have a course called SwiftUI Declarative Interfaces for Any Apple Device. This is a 17+ hour course and it covers everything you can imagine about SwiftUI. I'm constantly updating the course also. So you can see that we start with building list and navigation, and we even take a deep dive into MVVM design pattern, APIs consuming, and also core data. I also go down into the recipes where I talk about building a rating view, and I'm also covering Swift 2.0. We already have all of these amazing lectures, and I'm keep on adding more and more and more stuff to it, making it better. Now the best way to get this course is check out the link in the YouTube description. Simply click on the link and get the course. Please, if you want to get this course or any of my other courses, use the link in the YouTube description. That will be very, very helpful. Your support really means a lot to me. I do want to do this like full time. So if you do want to support me, please use the links to get these videos, buy the courses. They are not that expensive. I've worked hundreds and hundreds of hours on those courses and you're getting it for a very, very, very big discount. So please use the links in the YouTube description. Thank you so much, and thank you so much again for supporting my videos.